There's a truth most men will never stomach. A truth they'll reject, laugh at, or soften until it loses its bite. But if you have the stomach for it, lean in. Because it will change the way you see yourself and the world forever. If you're not feared, you're not powerful, not respected, not liked, not admired. Feared. Because fear is not about terror. It's about weight. The weight of your presence. The weight of your decisions. The weight of the fact that when you move, things shift. The delusion of niceness. Most men are trained from birth to be nice. To play it safe. To avoid conflict. To stay agreeable. But niceness is camouflage for weakness. It's not virtue. It's surrender. And the world doesn't reward men who surrender. You think people like you because you're kind? They tolerate you because you're harmless. You think people respect your humility? They pity it. Because they see a man too afraid to claim his throne. Understand this. If the only thing keeping people close to you is your kindness, you're already replaceable. But when there's fear in the equation, when your absence feels heavier than your presence, they can't replace you. They don't dare. Fear is respect on steroids. Respect is earned. But fear is carved. It's the scar you leave on the world when you refuse to bend. When people respect you, they admire you. When people fear you, they obey you. Fear makes your words carry weight. Fear makes your silence thunderous. Fear makes your choices undeniable. And you don't need to swing fists or roar like a beast to be feared. You only need to live in such a way that people know, without question, you're not to be tested. That your discipline is lethal. That your resolve is unbreakable. That your mission comes before their comfort. The man who cannot be ignored. Weak men fade into the background. Powerful men cannot be ignored. When he walks in, the room shifts. Not because he's loud, but because he's certain. Not because he's intimidating, but because he's grounded. Not because he demands respect, but because his presence makes respect instinctive. This is the paradox. The man who must ask for respect will never have it. The man who builds himself into someone who cannot be dismissed never needs to ask. Fear is not hatred. It's recognition. Recognition that you are not average. Recognition that you have teeth. Recognition that you will not bend to weakness, compromise, or mediocrity. Fear comes from boundaries. Being feared doesn't mean being cruel. It doesn't mean hurting others. It means being untouchable in your boundaries. It means you are the kind of man who cannot be manipulated, bribed, or bought. It means people know where you stand, and they know you will not move, no matter the storm. Fear comes from the unshakable certainty that you will defend your purpose at all costs. That you will choose silence over approval. Solitude over fake company. Purpose over pleasure. And when people realize you don't need them, you don't chase them, you don't beg them, that's when fear enters their eyes. Because you've proven you can walk away. And a man who can walk away is a man who cannot be controlled. The war with yourself. Here's the brutal truth. Before anyone else fears you, you must fear yourself. Fear the version of you that wastes time. Fear the version of you that gives in to weakness. Fear the version of you that scrolls, escapes, hides. That version of you is your executioner. He's the reason you're overlooked. He's the reason no one respects you. He's the reason you're soft, ignored, replaceable. If you want to be feared, you must kill him daily. Bleed discipline. Starve distraction. Burn weakness. Because the man who conquers himself becomes unconquerable. Love without fear is fragile. This one will sting. If your woman doesn't fear losing you, she doesn't truly value you. If your enemies don't fear testing you, they don't respect you. If your friends don't fear disappointing you, they don't take you seriously. Love without fear is fragile. Respect without fear is shallow. Loyalty without fear is temporary. When people know you are capable of walking alone, when they know you're disciplined enough to cut ties, cold enough to endure solitude, and sharp enough to replace weakness with strength, they begin to guard your presence like treasure, because fear tells them, he doesn't need me, he chooses me, and if I betray that choice, I'm gone. The silence of power. Truly feared men don't need to shout. They don't need to flex. They don't need to prove. Their silence carries authority. Their presence enforces discipline. Their life is a sermon. Because when a man is truly feared, he doesn't need to announce himself. His scars speak. His results scream. His energy crushes doubt before he opens his mouth. The price of being feared. Here's the catch. To be feared, you must be willing to lose. You must be willing to lose approval, to lose friends, to lose comfort, to lose the soft path. Because the feared man is never the most popular. He's the most unmovable. He's the one they whisper about, the one they criticize, the one they secretly envy, while pretending to despise. This is the price. To stand apart. To be misunderstood. To be rejected by the masses, but followed by the few who matter. And if you can stomach that, you will rise where others fall. The legacy of fear. Think of the men who shaped history. Caesar, Alexander, Churchill, Miyamoto Musashi, Marcus Aurelius. Even Christ himself, feared by empires because his presence threatened their control. These men were not nice. They were not safe. They were not agreeable. They were feared. And because they were feared, they left legacies carved into the marrow of time. You don't remember the agreeable men of history. You don't quote the soft men of history. You don't follow the comfortable men of history. You remember the men who bled without breaking, who stood without bowing, who carried fire in their bones and made the world tremble. The choice you must make. So here is the decision staring you in the face. Will you live as another agreeable man? Smiling for approval, begging for acceptance, hiding your teeth? Or will you embrace the weight of power? Will you build yourself into someone unshakable? Will you sharpen yourself until your presence demands fear? Because the world doesn't need more nice men. It doesn't need more talkers. It doesn't need more safe, smiling faces fading into nothingness. The world needs men who make the weak tremble, and the strong take notice. Men who carry silence like a weapon. Men who bleed and keep walking. Men who are feared, because they bow to nothing except purpose. Final word. If you're not feared, you're not powerful. Not in business. Not in relationships. Not in life. You don't need cruelty. You don't need arrogance. You don't need theatrics. You need weight. You need resolve. You need discipline. Build yourself into a man who can't be ignored. A man who cannot be manipulated. A man who can walk away from anything and anyone. And when the world looks at you, they won't say, "He's nice." They won't say, "He's harmless." They'll whisper, "Be careful. That man cannot be moved." That's power. That's fear. And that's the only way to live.